Chapter 3, Owning and Operating a Real Estate Office. This particular chapter is going to be dealing with getting your office up and running. I think one of the very first things that a person has to do is to develop a business plan. In order to have a direction or goals, you need to have a plan of action to get there. And what we're going to be talking about today is basically what are the things we have to do to get our office up and running. We'll need to understand the initial startup cost. Obviously, going into business is going to cost a little bit of money to get started. Where you're going to have the brokerage office located. Is it going to be in a residential neighborhood? Is it going to be in a downtown area? So you'll have to make those decisions. In terms of estimating startup cost, one of the things that we know is that you're going to have office rent to worry about, furniture, MLS, office equipment. So there's going to be a lot of cost involved. Projecting income and expenses, I think that most of us in the brokerage business, when we're trying to analyze the future, all we can go by is what we currently have today, and we're trying to look at the future and saying that the market is moving along. Understanding the buyer's market and seller's market aspect obviously is going to be important in trying to project future budgets. It's always easy if you have something from the past to work off of, but oftentimes we don't have that, and it's almost like our crystal ball is blank. An important concept in here that we need to understand is company dollars. So when I'm talking about a company dollar, I'm talking about those gross revenues coming into our business minus any commissions that we have to pay out. When you're projecting expenses, sometimes that might be hard. There are some ratios that we use. Anywhere from 40 to 60% in operating expenses are typically standard in the industry. One of the things that I've discovered as a broker is that, typically speaking, if you're hiring associates are going to cost somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. And that is including the secretarial, the office space, telephones, copy machines, all the things that go along with an office. That's about what an associate costs. As a broker, one of the things that we have to be very aware of is desk cost. Desk cost is simply the relationship of our overall operating expenses as it relates to the number of agents that we have. And so what we're going to do is take our operating expenses and divide it by the number of agents. I know the name desk cost seems to imply that you divide it by the number of desks in the office. Some companies, agents share office space, they share desks. So what we want to do is take it by the number of agents in the office. Let's talk about franchise versus independence. A franchise such as Century 21, RE/MAX, Coldwell Banker, there's a lot of good franchises in the marketplace today. There are some positive points about them, and there's also some negative points. And a broker has to make up their mind, do we want to franchise or do we want to remain independent? I think one of the things that we look at from a franchise standpoint, you've got a lot of name recognition. They have really great training programs that come along with it. There's also a lot of referral base that comes from it. I think some of the downsides to the franchise that we always have to be cognizant of is that, first of all, there's going to be fees that we have to pay. Also in the charter or in the rules, oftentimes management is restricted. These franchises like a certain management structure within an office. And some brokers don't work well with that. If you're going to be an independent, now the broker certainly is independent to do what they want to do in the way that they want to do. But just remember that typically speaking, there's no large referral base built in. There's no educational base built in. So there's a number of, it's a give and take that you have to look at. Brokers need to be aware that there are two ways of looking at how we handle our income taxes. One is the cash-based accounting, and the other is the accrual-based accounting. Simply put, the cash-based accounting is simply when we earn money, we report to the IRS in that year. When we write an expense, we report that to the IRS in that year. In other words, everything is done within that year that our money either comes in or goes out. The accrual basis, on the other hand, is really designed for the larger corporations where They're able to spread expenses and write-offs over a larger period of time. When we talk about employees versus independent contractors, an employee is somebody that's typically on a salary where the broker can tell them to come and go at certain times. Most licensees, most sales associates that work for brokers are going to be independent contractors. So brokers need to be very careful of how they handle those independent contractors. Independent contractors are contracted to do a task. Therefore, their time is theirs and they come and go when they choose. The thing about independent contractors is there's little control. Whereas as an employee, you have a lot of control, but once again, there's a salary typically that's going to be tagged to that. Personnel management. Brokers have to be pretty good managers. And there are 3 leadership approaches that I want to talk about. The dictatorial approach is that broker who is my way or the highway. This is the least respected. There's a lack of respect involved with the dictatorial. The abdication, this is the broker that simply says, you know, I can't make a decision. I'm going to let other people help me make decisions. Sometimes brokerages are set up as a committee, and that is, you got a lot of people that are making decisions, but there's no one person that's the leader. The approach that seems to work the best for most is called the directorial approach, where you have that individual leader, that's the broker, but also allows others to participate in the management activities. When picking sales associates, brokers need to be very mindful that there are a lot of people out there looking for jobs in our field, a lot of real estate associates. Whether somebody is male or female, has a college degree or whatever it is, those are not really important factors. Well, we've discovered the most important factors in hiring a sales associate is ego drive and empathy. Ego drive is that desire to win, is that desire to succeed, whereas empathy is that ability to be able to understand others. Those are the 2 keys to successful sales associates. Brokers and management. There are basic functions of management that brokers need to understand. They come in 3 categories: planning, organizing, and controlling. The acronym is POC. So those are the 3 functions of management. And when you're talking about planning, that simply means that you're developing some type of goal, you're setting a plan for that business operation. Organizing it is where you set up the structure itself. An easy way to control is to look at your past. How well have you done? Did you meet your goals? Planning, organizing, and controlling. Decentralization is something that a lot of brokers have a hard time with. Decentralization is handing down management decisions to others. Military has that down pat, I've got to tell you. They do understand what decentralization is about. Brokers that are not able to decentralize often find themselves bogged down. You have to be able to let others be able to help you participate. When it comes to personal assistants, there are 2 ways of looking at personal assistants: the licensed assistant and the unlicensed assistant. And I think that within a brokerage operation, you're probably going to have a little bit of both. Remember that the licensed assistant can be paid a commission, but also remember that it's only the broker that can pay that commission. The Florida Real Estate Commission, Florida legislation has passed statute that says that sales associates cannot share commissions. In other words, one sales associate cannot pay another sales associate. So any commissions that are earned have to be paid by the broker. If it's an unlicensed sales associate, remember that that unlicensed sales associate cannot perform the services of real estate and cannot give personal opinions about real estate itself. Now, they can do some tasks that don't relate to the service of real estate. They can do CMAs, they can give out keys, they can give out information of fact, but they simply can't give personal opinions about real estate. I think the next thing is compensation that's going to be important. When we're dealing with compensation in real estate, most sales associates are going to be paid a commission of some type, whether that's a straight commission or whether it's some type of graduated commission. The broker has to make up their mind or make the decision, how do you want to handle your commission structure. Also, let me say that a policy manual is going to be absolutely critical for every brokerage operation that has more than one or two people. What the policy manual basically does, it outlines the rules of the business. It lets everybody know what to expect, from the office policy itself to commissions to everything. So a policy manual is going to be very, very important. That takes care of Chapter 3. Now what I'd like to do is review with you the summary of those important issues in Chapter 3. Goals and business plans are the foundation of a successful brokerage. Minimum cost to open a real estate office includes startup cost plus 6 months of operating expenses. Company dollars is gross revenues minus outgoing commissions. Desk cost is calculated by dividing operating expenses by the number of agents. Franchises have great training and referral, but strict management procedures and franchise fees. Independents have great management control and no add-on fees, but has little referral base. Cash-based accounting is money in and money out in the year received and paid. Accrual-based accounting is income and expenses can be paid and spread over several years. Dictatorial leadership is the least desired. Directorial is the most desired. The most important characteristics of a sales associate: empathy and ego drive. The three functions of management are planning, organizing, and control. Personal assistants can be licensed or unlicensed. Unlicensed assistants cannot perform services in real estate or give personal opinions relating to real estate. Licensed assistants can be paid commissions, but only by their employing broker. Anyone can pay a salaried employee. And that's the end of the summary for Chapter 3.